F1, for as long as I can remember, has always drawn the rich and the famous to the sport. Why? I'll tell you in just a moment. Sports stars, rock stars, celebrities, politicians, they're all drawn to Formula One. And Formula One wants them there. Why? It's great for the sport. When you get a David Beckham in the paddock, you get world attention. As a general rule, people love celebrities. So why is F1 such a draw card? Well, the sport is mega rich. Look at the cost of entering the competition. Hundreds of millions of US dollars to start to play. Look at all the machinery there. Look at those lavish motorhomes. The big money generated by TV revenues. It all reeks money. F1 needs to be seen as the very top level of motorsport. When you go back to Bernie Ecclestone's era, he was very upfront about wanting it to be a glamorous sport. And in this particular email he sent to Cyril Abiteboul, he's upfront about it. Please be reminded that where possible, grid access passes should be used for celebrities or people of note, or as always, really glamorous ladies. This is not so much a sporting matter, but a part of the show business of Formula One. And now that Liberty Media has taken over Formula One, they're very upfront about the fact that they're running an entertainment business. So how do these people wind up at the track? They're not buying a ticket and just swanning into the paddock. No, they need to be invited. Some of them will be ringing up the team saying, hey, look, I'm in town. Can I come and join you at your particular hospitality suite for this race? Others will be invited by the FIA or teams. Over my 3 years working in Formula One, I've shot some amazing people with a camera. Probably the best moment for me was David Beckham in Bahrain, going back a couple of years ago now. I could see that there was a bit of a buzz outside the Ferrari garage, and I walked up and I could see the back of this guy's head and the tattoos and instantly realised David Beckham. Now, I'd had no advance warning that David would be there. Federica Maslin from the Sky Italia team, she was waiting to interview him, and I could see she was visibly excited, as was pretty much everyone around. Other celebrities I've photographed, Catherine Zeta-Jones. Her husband, Michael Douglas, is a mad Formula One fan and a guest of McLaren. And if you watch that doco on Amazon Prime, that's the one that Michael narrates. I've seen Michael in Canada, first year I shot F1 in 2017, and again in Britain last year in 2019 he was there. Always casual, more than happy to have a chat, really down-to-earth guy, and a pleasure to meet. I mentioned Britain, and Britain often brings out some big names. I shot will.i.am and the Black Eyed Peas. For some of you, you'd know will.i.am, others might not. And I remember when I put this particular photo up, I had people saying, what is he wearing? Is that a tablecloth? Is that a picnic rug? I love the guy, and if you've seen his doco with Joanna Lumley and loved it, well, we're on the same wavelength. I mentioned David Beckham first up, but other footballers that I've shot included Dani Alves in Brazil, where he met Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris for a brief moment in the paddock, and then obviously was the guest of McLaren. I've also had the opportunity to shoot Neymar. Now, that was an interesting day. It was at the British GP, huge buzz around the arrival of this fella, and there was much security as he came in, went straight to the Red Bull hospitality suite, and I never saw him again, but I was lucky enough to get a couple of pics as he indeed arrived. While still on the subject of football, a coach, Jose Mourinho, having a chat here with Nico Rosberg as they exited the British GP. And I think Chris Gayle was also there. Yes, here he is, the big cricketer, West Indian, who actually played in Australia for a little time. While on the subject of sports stars, let's change to a different sport. A great sprinter, perhaps the greatest we've ever known, Usain Bolt. In 2017, he was in Austin at the US GP, and boy, wasn't he popular. The throng of media around Usain was it the most? I think it would be very close to the biggest I've ever seen, and he had such an electric personality. He was there as a guest of Mercedes, and he was down in the garage with Lewis Hamilton posing for pictures, and I got to tell you, when you're out the front of that garage, and it's quite a small area, there's probably 50 photographers and video guys there, it's a real crush. And then Lewis took him out for a lap on the track at one stage, and at the end of the race, Usain was up on the podium presenting the trophies to the top three and doing his famous whatever that thing is called. Sometimes I'll see people in the paddock or in pit lane, wherever the case may be, and walk past them, not think anything of it. And then another photographer will say, "Did you get Tom Brady?" There he is. I go back and take a quick photo of him having a chat with this fellow. Tom had actually been there early in the day in Monaco and did that great stunt where he was on one boat, Daniel Ricciardo on another boat, and Tom launches the football at him from one boat to the other. It was quite magnificent to watch. It's not uncommon to see other motorsport personalities in the paddock like Fabio Quartararo, the MotoGP rider. He caught up with Pierre Gasly one day I was at the track, and another day had breakfast with Daniel Ricciardo. And just quickly, if you're in business and you'd like to sharpen up your crew's skills, head to Canity.com, the world's best online staff training platform. Hundreds of short, sharp training videos covering everything from handling angry customers to staying safe under COVID-19. Canity.com. So why do celebrities love Formula One? Because it extends their reach. It's this beautiful complementary association where someone like Vicky Odenkova, who's a model, looks fantastic, gets a bit of press obviously, wants to extend her reach outside of that area. She will then come to a Formula One GP, know that because she dresses up and looks great, she'll get photographed, she'll get talked about. That extends her reach, promotes her to an audience that she perhaps isn't known by. F1 loves it because that's a great glamour look that F1 wants to perpetuate. Why would Woody Harrelson and Owen Wilson want to be at a Grand Prix? They were promoting a new movie, Cars 3, an ideal tie-in with Formula One. The studio would have paid money for that association, and that's a powerful association. And of course, you need your two movie stars to come along to the event. And they were chatty out in the paddock, they were chatty with the media, happy to pose for photographs, and the end result was a win for both parties. Other movie stars to have been spotted in the paddock and on the grid include Daniel Craig, Mr. James Bond, in Britain last year. And when he came out onto the track for the grid presentation, there was a lot of security there. Please give Mr. Craig some room, give him some room. We couldn't get too close to him. Close enough to get some great shots, get them out to the world, and of course there you go, more publicity for James Bond movies. And when it comes to movie stars, there are few bigger than American star Will Smith. He and his son Jaden were at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix for the last race of 2018 and did this great stunt. You might have seen it on telly where they did that video where Will locks up Lewis in the change rooms, steals his car and heads out on track. Great promotion for Will, great for Mercedes-Benz. And I happen to know that there was a bit of a rush getting the race suit ready for Will. He's a big man. So Puma had to produce an exact replica of Lewis's suit for Will. Didn't even get a chance to try it on until the day, I believe. And just looking at this picture here of Lewis taking a selfie with Will, Lewis puts that on his page to his 15 million followers. That helps Will Smith. Will puts his selfie of Lewis on Will's page, that helps Lewis. So together they cross-promote and feed off each other's audience. When people ask me which race attracts the best celebrities, I often say Britain, but then there's also Monaco because of the glamour and the fact that there's parties. You go to the Amber Lounge and you mix with all the celebrities. And I remember in the first year I was in Monaco, I got to shoot the Amber Lounge Fashion Parade, which had all of the younger drivers in it. Charles Leclerc, Esteban Ocon, all dressed up in suits and modelling on the runway. But also it drew some major names like Pamela Anderson and also Kate Upton. Invited guests who bring a touch of glamour to that show. And that's not cheap. That's thousands of dollars a head to attend one of those functions, to rub shoulders with the rich and famous. Let's talk music. Who have I shot in the music field? Do you like DJs? Do you like Tiesto? I love his music. Another big name in the music world, Armin van Buuren. I happen to know Daniel Ricciardo is a fan of Mumford & Sons. So at the British GP last year, I managed to roll up at the Renault Hospitality Suite to find the Mumford & Sons crew having a quick chat and posing for a photo on the deck of the hospitality suite. The music industry is well represented at Formula One. Often there will be concerts after the race. For instance, in Baku, we had Mariah Carey one year, and she ended up coming down into the pits for a little tour with Red Bull. I managed to get a picture of her out next to the safety car, and she was standing next to it looking into it, and there was only about 3 or 4 of us photographers there. And I suggested, why don't you jump in and have a seat? Because she just put her youngster in there, and she said, oh, I won't fit. I said, go on, have a go. She jumped in, good sport, posed for a couple of quick photos, and that was Mariah Carey. Did I mention Chris Hemsworth? If I didn't, Chris Hemsworth. In Monaco. He was in there as a guest of Red Bull, but that same weekend Lewis Hamilton had as his guests Tommy Hilfiger and his wife Dee Aklepo. And Kris Jenner was there. Now, I didn't know her. I've never heard of the woman, but she was colourfully dressed on the 2 days that she was at the track. And once again, F1 helps her career, she helps F1. It's this beautiful blend. Jumping around a bit, I'm going to go back to a couple of musicians. Slash, Guns N' Roses guitarist, legendary. This was 2018 in Abu Dhabi. And then I caught Mick Hucknall from Simply Red talking to Christian Horner on the grid of the 2018 Singapore GP. Do you know this man? I didn't, but I love his music. This is Sam Smith. Here's Casey Neistat. Do you know him? My sons are big fans of Casey's. I've only ever asked for 2 selfies. One was with Daniel Ricciardo at his last race in Abu Dhabi for Red Bull. The other one was this fella here, Casey Neistat. He's legendary, particularly on YouTube, where he's got a huge following and has made quite a bit of money out of that. I did have a chat with Jimmy Carr in Singapore. Now, I don't know whether you watch 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown. Well, I do, and I love it. And I just come across that series probably 3 weeks before the Singapore GP. I see Jimmy in the paddock, so I stopped for a quick chat, and one of the other blokes, a fellow photographer, took a pic for me. Thank you for that. And not say it's the best pic of me, but it is an accurate indication of me having a chat with Jimmy Carr from Britain. Do you recognise this fellow? He's on American TV, does a talk show, Trevor Noah, South African, who has made it big in America. He was at the 2019 Grand Prix of Austin. And while we're on the subject of Texas, another great man that I shot there, and I've actually met this fellow, Bill Clinton, at a function going back, probably 15 years ago in Australia. But he was there to present the trophies, and perhaps an even bigger name in world politics, Vladimir Putin. I got this shot at the 2017 Russian Grand Prix. All of the photographers were out the front waiting for the podium shot. I decided I'd hang around the side and I can get this view where Vladimir, along with Alexandra Molina, once again in charge of getting the celebrity stroke politician, musician, whoever it is, out onto the podium. They were having a chat about security, I gather. And finally, another politician of note, perhaps on a slightly lower scale, is Monaco's Prince Albert. Now, I've photographed him at the track. Obviously, he presents the trophies, but I've also photographed him here at the soccer match that takes place, or football match for my European friends, that takes place before the weekend and features a number of the F1 drivers and celebrities come along and have a hack around out there on the main stadium oval in Monaco, which is a great place. And really, when you're talking about rich and famous and car racing, there is no place more apt to have a Grand Prix than Monaco when you get this backdrop of all these boats. And as I mentioned earlier on, I'm going to do a separate video on Monaco and why it is the most amazing place to have a Grand Prix. Formula One is synonymous with wealth and celebrity. And with that said, I'll ask you to like the video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more of my content. Hit the bell button if you want to get notifications. You'll find all of my F1 driver photo books. There are some 21 of them. Brilliant books sent to almost anywhere in the world at kimillman.com. You'll find all of my digital images at prostarpics.com. And for interesting stories and pictures throughout the week, head to Instagram at Kim Illman. Thank you for watching and stay passionate. I've got a cut there.